Every era had a different idea of home. Sometimes it was a cave, sometimes a castle, sometimes a box in the sky. From prehistory to smart homes, this is how humans slowly figured out where to live. Caves. Before architecture, there was geology. Early humans tucked themselves into the earth. Natural alcoves carved by water and time. They didn't build homes, they found them. Walls came pre-installed. Ventilation optional. Fires left soot halos, the world's first interior decor. Shelter was about survival, not resale value. Still, these were the safest addresses available. Stone-roofed and predator-resistant. Eventually, even nomads grew tired of damp ceilings. So they began to build stick huts. A stick leaned against another stick. Civilization's first floor plan. Grass, leaves, and mud filled the gaps. The result was portable, biodegradable, and deeply flammable. Good for a night, maybe two. These shelters taught one enduring design truth. Comfort is a luxury, dryness is a miracle. People built them, abandoned them, and built again. No one called it minimalism, but it was. Tents. When herds moved, people followed, taking their homes with them. Animal hides stretched over bones or poles formed the earliest real mobile homes, light enough to carry, sturdy enough to survive wind. They didn't have mailboxes, but they did have convenience. Tents evolved into yurts, teepees, and Bedouin canopies, adapted to every climate where permanence was impractical. If a modern RV is freedom on wheels, this was freedom on foot. You could pack up your living room before breakfast. Mud houses. Settling down meant making peace with mud. When people discovered farming, they stopped moving, and clay became the universal building block. Sticks and straw woven with dirt made walls that breathed, cracked, and occasionally melted. These homes were humble but revolutionary. They stayed in one place. You could store grain, raise children, and forget where you left your digging stick. The age of villages had begun, a bold experiment in staying put. Stone homes. Somewhere, someone looked at a rock wall and thought, I can do better. Stacked stone replaced mud, trading leaks for back pain. It took years to quarry, haul, and shape each block, but the result lasted generations. These homes stayed cool in summer, cold in winter, and indestructible always. Tombs, temples, and cottages all borrowed the same logic. Permanence equals safety. The Stone Age ended, but the stone house never did. Even now, realtors call them heritage properties. Translation: expensive fossils, longhouses. Where forests grew, people built horizontally. Logs were abundant, carvable, and briefly immortal before rot. Longhouses stretched across communities, part dwelling, part social experiment. Shared fires, shared smells, shared everything. Privacy was rare, warmth was not. Wood made life faster. You could build a new home in a season and burn it down by accident just as quickly. Still, it smelled better than mud. Brick and Adobe. Sun-dried bricks were a small miracle. Geometry meets geology. Stack them, bake them, and you get civilization with corners. Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Indus Valley all turned dust into design. Brick let people go vertical. Roofs, arches, courtyards, proto-architecture. It was the first time a home could survive its owner. And for once, beauty and practicality coexisted. Until rain reminded everyone why waterproofing matters. Thatched cottages. Once agriculture flourished, straw became more than livestock decor. Thatched cottages sprouted like weeds across Europe and Asia. Walls of mud or timber, roofs of reed, humble and charming if you ignore the insects. Inside, smoky fires painted the ceilings black. Outside, chickens enforced property law. These homes looked picturesque from a distance and moldy up close. But they marked something new. Comfort, or at least its early rumor. Villas and courtyards. As cities emerged, the wealthy wanted space and symmetry. Roman villas, Greek courtyards, Chinese seiheyuan, all variations on the same idea. Privacy and sunlight. Stone walls, tiled roofs, inner gardens, slaves or servants. A preview of suburbia. They had plumbing before most of the world had sanitation. The villa made the home a statement, not just a shelter. Everyone else still lived in cramped tenements, which was also tradition. Castles and hovels. For 1,000 years, home was a matter of class. The nobility built fortresses, granite symbols of paranoia, moats, battlements, drafty halls, more military base than residence. Peasants, meanwhile, huddled in one-room huts beside their livestock. A castle's comfort was theoretical. A hovel's simplicity was involuntary. Both leaked. One leaked expensively. Townhouses. When cities revived, homes stacked themselves upward. Merchants lived above their shops, families over workshops, dreams over noise. Brick and plaster replaced stone, but smoke remained a design feature. Windows appeared, small, fragile luxuries of glass. Street life and home life blended. The smell of commerce never left. Privacy was still a rumor, but ambition was everywhere. Colonial homes. Exploration exported architecture. European settlers reassembled home wherever they landed. Timber in the Americas, bamboo in Asia, corrugated roofs in Africa. Local materials shaped familiar forms. Every empire had a blueprint. Every climate ignored it. These homes weren't just shelters. They were cultural announcements saying, "We're here now," in imported brick. It was globalization, centuries early and rarely consensual. Tenements. The Industrial Revolution replaced the village with the block. Workers poured into cities. Landlords stacked them by the dozen. Terraced houses for the middle class. Tenements for everyone else. Rooms shrank, chimneys multiplied, and privacy finally arrived, in the form of separate misery. The modern city began here, efficient, crowded, and perpetually smoky. Architecture learned to mass-produce humanity. Victorians. After soot came ornament. The 19th century covered function with frills. Turrets, moldings, gingerbread facades. Every window had a personality disorder. These houses looked respectable and required servants to stay that way. Gas lights replaced candles. Indoor plumbing became less of a luxury, more of a necessity. Homes grew heavier, more decorative, and slightly hysterical. It was progress with lace, modern apartments. By the early 20th century, land ran out, but ambition didn't. People went vertical again, this time in concrete. Apartments turned shelter into geometry. Efficient, repetitive, humane in theory. Le Corbusier called them machines for living. Tenants called them noisy. Still, the modern apartment democratized urban life. For the first time, millions lived side by side without knowing their neighbors' names. Suburbs. After World War II, everyone wanted a lawn. Mass production met domestic dreams. Suburbs sprawled outward like optimistic fungi. Identical houses, identical mailboxes, identical barbecue smoke. The bungalow promised privacy without isolation. 4 walls, 1 mortgage, 2-car garage. It was the golden age of sameness. Individuality could be expressed through mailbox shapes and curtain colors. Freedom, redefined as slightly different beige. High-rises. By mid-century, architects aimed for the clouds. Glass and steel replaced brick. Elevators replaced staircases. Cities turned vertical. Homes became views. From Manhattan to Shanghai, living high meant paying more to touch less earth. The skyline became a neighborhood. These towers were feats of engineering and endurance. Noise travels upward. Loneliness does too. Mobile and tiny homes. Then came the rebellion. Smaller, faster, cheaper. Prefab houses promised modernity in a box. Mobile homes gave wanderers an address with wheels. Tiny homes declared independence from clutter and debt, trading space for simplicity. It's the oldest idea reborn. Portable shelter, this time with Wi-Fi. Back to basics, but with better insulation. Smart homes. Finally, the home started thinking back. Solar panels, recycled materials, sensors, voice assistants, all chasing sustainability and convenience. The cave had no thermostat, the smart home has 5. Doors lock themselves, fridges gossip with phones, lights obey disembodied commands. It's progress with surveillance built in. The future of shelter looks clean, efficient, slightly haunted by data. Maybe one day we'll miss the mud hut. It never overheard us.